It's been a moment since I made a video. Well, actually I filmed a vlog last week. I just haven't sat down to edit it. I've had a chaotic last couple of weeks between having a very bad eczema breakout, which is why I'm not wearing any makeup. I'm comfy not wearing makeup, but I do like to put on mascara every so often, and I haven't been able to do that because my eyes have had a lot of rashes on them. I also had relentless car issues for the past 2 weeks that are finally resolved. It was very expensive and very inconvenient, but now that that's all out of the way, and since it's the first day of spring, I thought I'd share with you all what I've been thinking about to get inspired to make work this season. I think in general I like to imagine the year as a wheel, and I love to think about the seasons as a jumping off point for inspiration. The colors, the mood. I like to think about what flowers are in bloom, what my goals are, what music I'm listening to, or what I'm watching. Spring is one of the most exciting seasons to enter. It's such a celebration of new life. The buds on the trees, the birds singing every morning, having more light during the day and into the evening. Warmer weather is really exciting. I know I'm excited to try to start wearing nicer clothes because I tend to be a comfy goblin in the wintertime, and because I spend so much time indoors, don't put that much effort into what I'm wearing or my appearance. Yeah, just everything about spring makes me want to get outside and experience life, be more active. It's really lovely to start seeing flowers in bloom outside. I find it very motivating. And I think in my work I start to go back to one of my original aesthetics, which is flowers all over everything. Not that I really take that big of a break from it in the winter months, but in spring and summer I don't hold back, and I like to incorporate a lot of ferns with my flowers and trees and sprouts and all of the critters and other interesting plants that I see out and about. And for this year I've especially been interested in incorporating very rare and strange flowers into my work while still focusing on the flowers that are in season. For right now, daffodils and tulips are starting to be in season, as well as other bulb flowers and pansies. So I've been researching very unusual varieties of those flowers with interesting color stories, strange spots, different shapes. To embroider some of those on clothes and as pieces, and I think even just that act of researching the different varieties helps get my creative juices flowing and makes me want to experimentally design my own fantasy pansies or fantasy tulips for my work. I'm definitely interested in including more and more critters with all of the flowers that I want to embroider to add some life and personality. For example, if I have a top that I'm embroidering a tulip on, I feel like it's even more special to include a little snake coiled around it or butterflies, which I do often, but I think in the winter time I get a little bit lazy and just want to be on autopilot, and now I'm kind of more excited to really go for it and make fun, kind of chaotic stories with my embroidery. I'm definitely thinking a lot about little bugs, snakes, and frogs because of all my skin problems. I've especially been wanting to research animals that cleanse their own skin, kind of like frogs and salamanders, because they could be my totem of inspiration to help heal my eczema. In addition to taking medicine and stuff, that's something I've been thinking of, as well as snakes, how they shed their skin. I'm also trying to think of a way to incorporate fairies and nymphs into my work without being too obvious. I tend to kind of avoid using the human form in the stuff that I make, but I am interested in having some fairy-like creatures that maybe are less human and more dragonfly-like or something. We'll see how I end up working that out. Other thematic motifs that I want to be working with would be cosmic eggs in general, because that's kind of the spring motif, especially with spring equinox and the pagan holiday Ostara. Philadelphia. Eggs are a symbol of fertility and creativity, inspiration, new life. It's a little bud, it's a seed. So I'd like to do some cosmic egg pieces. Trees, of course, are something I return to all the time, but now that the trees are blooming, I feel like even more inspired to be putting trees on everything. And then I'm still going through my bird phase, but I especially have some ideas for pieces around the theme of crows. I'll probably make more lovebirds pieces this springtime because those are always fun. And then I'm also thinking about making more alchemy bottle pieces, like individual hoops. I have some ideas for just completely fully beaded works, background and everything, like a big rectangle or a hoop that's just completely beaded with a story, or even more like abstract symbols and a bit more of a graphic design. But that sounds vague, but that's just something in the back of my mind that I've been contemplating, mostly to kind of like use up some beads that have been sitting around and clear out my space a bit. I'm thinking of the home as a theme. I don't think I've ever really embroidered like a house, but I'm going to use that as a jumping off point and maybe not literally embroider a house, but think of ways to make other objects into houses with windows and a door and stuff, because that's on my mind. The living space is on my mind. Lewis and I are actively talking about moving again in the summertime once the spring is over, but now is the preparing of it all. So that's a theme that I want to work with. Even like castles is a motif that I want to start a piece on, maybe a beaded castle or something embroidered on a top, not sure. I've been reading a lot more, just trying to keep up with the ritual of reading. I'm especially trying to read books that I've had in my space for a really long time, and once I finish the book, then donate it at one of the public outdoor little libraries that are set up all around Philadelphia. I started reading Consumed by Aja Barber. I always try to sprinkle in environmentalist books into my reading agenda. The only thing is I had started that book and then I didn't get very far and I've already lost it. I think it might be in my car. So one of my goals this spring is to find it and finish it, but specifically cleaning out my car would be a great idea as like a spring cleaning kind of situation. In the meantime, I'm reading a book called Contemporary Paganism, Speaking Earth, Listening People. Anyways, I've had that book for a while. I feel like it was a recommendation on a podcast that I like. I think the podcast Between the Worlds with Amanda Yates Garcia. It so far has just talked about what pagans do, what they celebrate, and this is a topic I really am interested in, have been reading a lot about in the past 3 years. I also have a copy of Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones, which I started a while ago, and I'd like to finish it. As far as movies on TV, Lewis and I have been watching Chef's Table. Random as that seems to be like an inspiration for art, I found it really touching to hear other folks' stories of how they got into their passions and how they sustained the inspiration to continue doing their passions and making it their full-time life. And especially because they feature people from all different backgrounds and all different cultures. There's just so many different perspectives, and I find it really inspiring and enriching, not only to cook but also to be pursuing my own creative path. So yeah, that was lovely. I can sometimes feel a little bit nuts about my level of dedication to my work. On one hand, I feel very strongly that your work shouldn't define you, and the point of life isn't to be a worker or have a job, but it's to spend time with the people you love. I mean, I think it is to make art and stuff, but I don't think that has to define you. On one hand, I feel pretty strongly that we should just not have such a hustle culture, but then on the other hand, I very much so am a bit of a workaholic and extremely obsessed with my craft and want to work on it all the time every day. So I guess I have a bit of a hypocrisy in my approach to my work, but I do like hearing other people's stories of how they're dedicated to what they're doing too. Other than that, I think we've just been like watching John Oliver, which is fun, but also depressing, but in a kind of dark humor, chaotic kind of way. And I guess we've been watching a lot of movies. We just finished watching a bunch of Charlie Chaplin movies and we want to watch more of the shorts that are available. He's a big inspiration of my sister's, so she turned me on to his films. First we watched The Kid, and then we watched The Great Dictator, and then we watched Modern Times, and I think we just watched Life of a Dog. All great. Highly recommend. I also made Lewis watch Hair, the movie adaptation of the Broadway musical, which has been one of my favorite movies for a very long time. We also watched Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. That's another Miyazaki movie. We're always rewatching Miyazaki films, but I feel like we hadn't watched Nausicaa together. Another movie that incorporates environmentalism into it. I'd like to revisit some movies this spring for fashion inspiration purposes, like Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley, maybe like Tuck Everlasting. You know, I want that kind of romantic linen dress inspiration. My sister and I are already discussing what our plans are going to be for next year's Renaissance Fair, and I'm kind of thinking I want to be like a flower night, which I have an idea for, but I haven't put sketches to the paper. Some movies I'd like to watch to get hyped to plan that out would be like Donkey Skin and The Love Witch. Those two movies in general have really helped inspire my approach to art in the way that they're both very technicolor but like vintage at the same time. I love a 1960s and 70s medieval moment, exaggerated sleeves, exaggerated colors. Other than that, my spring goal is to get outside as much as possible. It really just changes the mood of the week if we get to go on a nature walk. I feel like a million times better than the weeks that I spend more time indoors, or even just indoors and outdoors, but the outdoors is the city. So whenever there's a nice day, we try to get out of the city and go to a park that's nearby. We went to a really cool park out in Delaware that was only like 30 minutes away from us. I think it was like a 7-mile nature walk, which was very cool, and we saw a fox and a lot of bluebirds and some horses and even some cows from far away. I don't think we've had a chance to get out since then though, and that was like a couple weeks ago. But also I had all my car troubles, so I also feel like I've been in hibernation mode, in a very like wearing overalls every day, not really reaching out to anyone to do things because I want to save money, no makeup, just working all the time sort of way. Left to my own devices, this is just what I do because I try to be frugal. I'm very introverted, but in the springtime, it gets me in the mood to be excited about my clothes, to see people, be out and about and make plans. I definitely am a lot more social in the spring and summer than I am in the autumn and winter, especially late winter, because the holidays can be kind of overwhelming with plans and seeing people, but then late winter, it's like I go in the complete opposite direction and just spend a ton of time indoors. Anyways, that's what I've got for today. I know it's not the most elaborate of videos. I'm sorry I've been slacking with my consistency. I have honestly been finding it challenging to be organized, to answer my messages. I've been definitely slacking with the whole Patreon thing. I even have trains of thoughts where I'm like, maybe I did this too soon and I need to follow more people on Patreon to understand even what I'm supposed to be posting. Instagram has been kind of stressful too, and I feel like these days I don't know even what to do to make it work to my benefit. But all that being said, one day at a time, I really appreciate everyone for hanging around and being here. Since it's the first day of spring, I'm going to spend the rest of the day. I'm gonna try to relax and maybe read a bit more, maybe cook something nice for dinner. I might get some work done. I'm embroidering some garments that I thrifted at Goodwill while I was waiting for my eczema medication at the ShopRite pharmacy. I'm just trying to enjoy the day and take it easy. Let me know what you're excited about for the springtime, or if there's anything cool going on that I should know about and get tickets for or something. I feel like I'm always late to the game of like cool art exhibits or like events that happen and I want to go to them. So let me know if you know of any. I wish you all a magical spring equinox full of inspiration. I promise I will be making more of an effort to regularly put out videos. I will be back with more projects soon. And have a great rest of your week. Goodbye.